Tony, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much. So happy to be here with you.
Awesome. I'm glad to have you on because that's the one thing that I love about everything Disney. It's always the music. The music always seems to come in. You're working on Mickey's Tale of Two Witches and Mickey and Minnie Wish Upon a Christmas, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, both of them.
So how is it coming up with the music? I mean, these are timeless characters, timeless tales. How difficult is it to come up with fresh new music for like Mickey and Minnie?
Yeah, well, it's a great question. It's for these movies, the approach was to treat them like, new holiday classics.
Mhm.
And being that, one centers around Halloween and the other one centers around the Christmas holiday, we've got a wealth of sounds that have been proven before in those sort of genres, if you will.
Mhm.
So for these shows, the one thing we did talk about is to give them a bit of a cinematic approach, score them like movies, not score them like a TV episode or anything. So, and what that translates to is more of a bigger kind of cinematic sound. So orchestra is heavily featured with these both movies, and within those, each one, we pull from uh, colors that made sense and that fit the sound and tone of the show. Like for example, so Mickey's Tale of Two Witches, we lean on the orchestra, but we also have a lot of fun with other instruments that might be kind of Halloweeny and have some fun, like the harpsichord, the theremin, and things like that of that nature. And likewise with the holiday movie, we lean on like a choir, a lot of like bells and kind of like celesta and these kind of chimey type sounds to give it that kind of Christmas holiday spirit.
Awesome. And it's not Halloween without a theremin. So
It is
there you
not.
go.
It
There you
is not.
go.
Go back and get the theremin. Otherwise, let's not go there.
Exactly. But like nowadays, like we have like with Disney Plus, which is the Mickey's Tales 2, which is going to be on Disney Plus as well,
Mhm.
I mean that opens up a whole platform, I guess, audio wise for you, like where you get Dolby Atmos, that surround sound really pack. How is it creating scores for different platforms? Because like it's like you want to get that full sound, but like
Yeah.
sometimes stereo is involved, sometimes it's Atmos, and
Uh-huh.
how did it all come about?
I mean, it's all, it depends on obviously the platforms, what they can offer, and what sort of sound setup system they support. Obviously, with Disney Plus, they're it's like just as good as whatever your home theater can provide.
Hmm.
If you have a surround system, great. If you only have a stereo system, it'll cover all that.
Yeah.
As far as how that goes with the music side of things and the mixing, I generally I always mix and record and produce my music and deliver it depending on what the final mix house ends up doing.
Yeah.
So what that means is I'm just one part of all the sound, right? So it's music, it's the dialogue, sound effects, all that, and everything goes to one studio whenever it's all done, and that studio mixes it together.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of tied to what those parameters are. Are they mixing it in surround? Are they mixing it in stereo? Generally, even if I deliver something that's just stereo, left, right mix, they can put it in a surround space
Mm.
with the trickery that the mix people do.
Yeah.
So it helps me because along with that's one less thing I have to worry about on the side of creative things, and I can kind of just focus on the music side and making all that work.
Exactly. And that's why I'm fascinated with what you do because I've been mixing with Dolby Atmos recently, and it's
Hmm.
very fascinating how to bring those sounds and really fill them and give them an amazing full feeling within a platform. So that's why I had to ask you that question about that because
Yeah, no,
it's
it's
interesting.
cool. I love going to these dubs. It's not really as often these days because of the COVID policies and
Yeah.
so forth. But it's really fun to hear the final mix when I can go and sit in the room when they're doing this mix, and I can experience the surround or the Dolby or however they're putting it. Because here in my studio, generally I'm just doing it in stereo, and I'm working with temporary sound effects, temporary things. So it's cool to go and like you can hear somebody fly and whiz by and hear that sound go behind you and experience it, for the first time. So it's great. It's really cool.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask you, like, what are some of the inspirations for these two new projects, and what were kind of the elements you wanted to go with that were different and untraditional than what you've done in the past?
Well, for me, and this is the first time I can honestly say it's the first time I've ever been involved in a Halloween movie and a Christmas movie. So it was exciting for me to be able to think about that, right, that exact question. What is my palette? What can I do here that will service what the filmmakers want the music to do, and also be fun and interesting and new. And with excuse me, with Mickey's Tale of Two Witches, as I mentioned before, we talked about bringing in a couple of Halloween instruments
Yeah.
that would be featured as needed. But other than that, I just tried to tell the story through, like I said, through the eyes of treating this thing like it was like a humongous movie that would be, out in the movie theaters and the masses, and really like, and what that means is, the fun and the action and all that stuff that you hear is very dynamic with the composition, and it's epic at times,
Mhm.
and just bring like kind of my style of writing to that sort of to this space with Mickey, because my prior experience with Disney Junior, I was a composer on a series for them called Elena of Avalor, and one of the things we talked about, other than fusing sounds of orchestra and traditional Latino instruments.
Mhm.
One of the things that they really liked about what I did was sort of this epic orchestral sound, and how I kind of would write things just to be more cinematic and so forth. So I wanted to make sure I stayed true to that with the Mickey side and with these new producers and new creatives, and brought that sensibility to the project.
Exactly, and that's why, like, I wanted to ask you that because it's like the Disney catalog has so many different. When you look at from the early days of the animation to now, there's so many
Mm.
different sounds that for Christmas and Halloween that we've seen throughout the years, and that's why it's like, does it ever feel tempting, like going back to the catalog and just seeing, okay, maybe I could use this, maybe I could use that.
All the time, all the time. And it's funny. I'm not sure if you know about this, but there's literally a musical. There's a musical definition among composers, and when you talk about scoring, and it's called Mickey Mousing. And what it means is, it means scoring music very tightly to picture, movement on picture.
Yeah.
So, like if an animated, if somebody picks up something and they drop it, you hear music go,
Mhm. Yeah.
and that's what they call Mickey Mousing. So, um, where I was going with that is, it's just, when I got into doing what I do, um, I studied film music in college,
Mhm.
and I remember really being fascinated by animation music just in general back then, because of the technical difficulty it took to write that kind of music, because it's a little different than most other genres, in that scoring to such tight parameters on like physical movement or comedy and all that, and making it sync with the music and the picture, it's really challenging.
Yeah.
And it's, when it's well done, it's almost seamless, and it still feels musical. When it's not, it feels a little abrupt, and it can feel a little jagged. So yeah, I mean, and I just, so again, like back then I was like looking at old Mickey Mouse cartoons, and they were, some of those musics were very complex and inventive, and really cool to look and inspire from. So I did my best. I think I might have gotten there, but again, I'm not trying to just do what they do, but I definitely used it as and funneled that information to what I do.
Yeah, but I mean, you've done amazing work on Eleanor, because
Thank you.
like I imagine, like I go around and I'm seeing it everywhere, and you can hear the music, and you hear it even when you go into the parks, you hear the music, and it's just like,
Yeah, they have it at the
oh
parks.
yeah, and like what is, and then we'll make this the final question, and we'll end on this because
Okay,
I have a Jungle Cruise poster in the back that actually came from the hotel.
cool.
So I have to literally go to the park.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody needs to know that how I got it. But but what does it feel like for you as a composer when you go into the parks and you hear the music that you work on and you see the expression on kids and families' faces when they hear your music?
Man, it's awesome. It's a true honor. It's honestly nothing I ever imagined would be something I could actually um, be a part of when I got into this. You know, it was like a icing on a cake. And I remember when I was working on Elena in the early days, in the early season, and they were talking. You know, you hear we're all in different departments, like us in the production. We're not really with the people who work in the parks and stuff, but you do hear what the plans are. And
Mhm.
I remember them hearing that they were going to have Elena at the park, and then they were going to have like her own section at Disneyland and Disney World, and they would have like a parade, and some of the music was going to get used. And I thought, this is just crazy. And also because I have two daughters, and we go to Disneyland fairly frequently. And so when all this happened, it was just it was a really proud and cool moment to be able to be a part of that story and that legacy.
Awesome. That's so cool. That is really cool. And yeah, Mickey's Tale of Two Witches premieres. It actually premieres today
Tonight,
on
yeah.
today on Disney Junior, and then tomorrow on Disney Plus. And then later on this year, Mickey and Minnie Wish Upon a Christmas will come out December 2nd on Disney Junior. Congratulations on all your work. Really, you do some amazing stuff. And please, keep up the good work.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm happy to have been able to talk to you today.
Definitely. Hey, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.